The switch statement is a great way to actually do a bunch of controls within one block, and it keeps you from having to put together multiple if-else conditions. So you can put an expression here, switch, open paren, your expression, end paren, and your expression can be ints or strings, and it can be something like a variable, or it could be a string, for example. You don't necessarily want to put 2 there, but you could. You could put your own strings, and then you can process that. You can see here we're working in the switch folder in the project root, and this is just going to test some values in a method here. It's normal to pass things via a method because I think it's very interesting to actually control a lot by creating standalone methods that are going to do your processing. So you can see here that we're passing in an RGB value here. That is our enum if you want to take a look at the enum. RGB values is our type that we created, and it's an enum. It's of the byte type. So therefore we have to actually cast this to an integer. And you can see that we cast it as an integer, and whatever value that's going to be found here is going to actually do this particular area here. It could be a block of code or whatever, but whatever's going to be after the case statement. And the break statement's only going to, after you have a bunch of statements here, it's going to break out of the loop. You have to actually break out instead of just allowing it to fall through. The case is going to actually execute these statements, and if the break statement isn't there, then it could actually execute another case if that case were true. So you want to break out of it so you don't have anything happen after that. You want to just have each case statement work on its own, and then when you break out of the case statement itself. So you can have all the different values that you want here. You see that we work for red, green, and blue, and then we actually could do a default as well. You always want to test for a default so you can actually program your logic very, very carefully and make it work exactly without anything slipping by. A default is anything that doesn't fit into the above cases, because that's what you're doing. You're switching per case, and you're deciding. It's really like doing little if statements. If this, then do this, then break out. If this, then do this, then break out. If this, then do this, then break out. And you can have multiple lines, and the default is anything that didn't happen here. So the other resort here. If these weren't there, then it breaks out and goes here. And you can see that we're returning a false or true. If nothing was taken care of here in these conditions, it's going to return the false by using the default. Otherwise, it's going to return true. Now, you could put return true on each of these lines, but that's going to be redundant. You don't have to do that because you know you're going to break out and come down after this closing brace here. You're going to break out here and return here. And you have to make sure that you return from some of the conditions as well. The compiler is smart enough to know when the return could get actually used. So it's going to check to see if it is always going to return, because it needs to return. So if there is a condition within your switch or something else that doesn't actually return, then it's going to have a problem. It has to return the type that needs to be returned for that method. So you could pass integer or RGB as you wish. The switch statement is very, very helpful. I use it a lot throughout my programming in many, many different ways, many different languages actually, and I'm very, very happy and thankful to have the switch statement. Use it as you need to. You can also look up more advanced ways of working with it, but this is the standard way to work with it.